YouTube. This is 3coursethoughts here. So today, for our topic, we're going to be talking about information overload. And let's get this thing started. So, how many of you have unfinished projects that you've had for a long duration of time, or also a lot of internet tabs, like on the regular? I know that's a common problem that I myself still have. So this video, we're going to just talk about that via overloading the information. I'm going to get to that in a minute. What's relevant to information overload is this quote that I have right here, which is getting information off the internet is like drinking from a fire hydrant. So what is information overload? Information overload is basically, even though it's been defined several times in definitions on Google and also on YouTube, my definition of information overload is when the mind has too much. There's too much for the mind to process at any given time. When by information, this is not only information like information you see on the internet, but information you're in one's day-to-day life, every day, like remembering the grocery list, remembering different other responsibilities you may have and obligations, things that might interest you, hobbies, and so forth. That's all information that your brain has to process. And that's only on the active scale. This can be one of several different problems that you may experience that can afflict you in your day-to-day operation. So when you experience one of these symptoms, you may confuse it with something else. Like you might feel tired and you're like, oh, maybe I have a fever. Whatever I come down with, I don't, may not necessarily know. So as such, diagnosis of this can be a challenge, and in our day-to-day operation where I have to hustle, grind, or I just don't have time, you may even deem that unnecessary. So why might identifying information overload be important? We might be busy and so forth. So why is that important? Well, for starters, it saves time. If you get the appropriate diagnosis and you know what your particular problem is, it'll save you time. And also, it also saves you resources. Because if you waste the wrong resources on if you have the wrong diagnosis, that means you have a higher chance of wasting more resources on that diagnosis. This is also important for your own well-being and your health. If you get the proper diagnosis, then you can counter said ailment, which I'm going to discuss in a minute, for your own health, and also it affects the well-being of your loved ones. Whether the information burnout information overload is affecting myself, that affects my loved ones because that affects me and how I'm able to function around them. And also, if it affects them specifically, I can probably be in a better position to aid them, knowing what are some signs of information overload. Some signs of information overload is if you're tired, fatigued, but not ordinary. Like, let's say you get enough sleep. You got a solid 8 hours. You woke up and you still feel a little tired, groggy. That might be a sign of information. Your mind has been overloaded with information. Another big one is you're disengaged or you have a lack of concentration. So let's say you have a particular hobby. You've had enough rest. You have a particular hobby you know that you love. And you feel, you know within yourself if you're disengaged, if you're engaged or disengaged with an activity that you're performing. So if you know this, that could be a big sign of that your mind is overloaded with information. Lack of motivation is another one, another big one. So you get up, you know you've had adequate rest, and you just don't feel like doing anything. You have your plan set out, you know, you have your agenda, and you're like, wow, I really don't feel like doing anything. It might not be that you're lazy for it per se, but it could be you feeling overloaded with the amount of tasks that you have to perform. So what are some reasons for information burnout? A big one, I keep saying information burnout, my mistake. Information overload. One of the reasons for information overload is that we have limited time. So in our day-to-day operations, there's only 24 hours a day in a day and 7 days in a week. That's not much time, especially when you have to spend, it's optimal for you to get 8 hours to sleep. So that's 24 minus 8. That's approximately, if I'm doing the math correctly, 15 to 16 hours. I may be off on that. Please, if I'm wrong about that, correct me in the comment section. Another reason is that consumption of stimuli on the biological level. So for instance, things that let's say you have to drive to and from work. You have to pay attention to directions. You have to pay attention to things within your surrounding environment. All of that is, your mind is actively doing these things, sometimes even unconsciously doing these things. These things play a role in the information overloading an individual. Then you also have the cultural level. Keep up with trends, you know, checking on like friends, little things like that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. All I'm saying is that all those things is all information. That's a lot of things that's part of things that you have to do. It's personal things, like I was saying before, your hobbies, things that you're interested in. Talents or interests that you want to pursue that have nothing to do with your employment, or maybe it could be interlinked with it as well. For you teachers, for you teachers out there and other professionals, within the working world, you have your professional obligations and responsibilities. And then for you people that are students, you're still in college, or maybe you're doing both. You college students, high school students, educational aspects, and duties, requirements, and responsibilities. All that is things you have to keep your mind on and stay engaged with or confront on a day-to-day basis. So simply put, the daily grind of the average day-to-day, it's a lot. Plain and simple. So what can be done about this? There's a lot of other sources for handling information overload that's out there. It's abundant. So there's a lot of YouTube channels that also describe this topic in unique ways. As such, I would like to call, like, when you counter information overload, you reverse it and just overload the information itself. So how to overload information? One way is is through efficiency. So you develop a system, to-do lists. A to-do list could be a good way to form an effective system in which you can group what you need to get done, what you want to get done in tasks. So you'd be like wants, needs, and so forth. Another thing, following up on that, is relevance. So you may have a lot of things to do, or you'd like to do, need to do. You rank them in terms of their importance, how much time they might take, and so forth. And you try your best to pick the things that are most important and put them together. So say you have your to-do list, you have an asterisk as to the things that's most important. What am I getting done first? what I have to absolutely get done today. The next one is, I'd like to call it reaping and sowing, or work then play. So basically, reaping is like let's say you're a farmer or a gardener, you're into horticulture. You reap, so you grow the plants, and then you sow. You take the fruits of your labor. So first you grow the plants, the produce, and then you sow. So basically, the same thing with work and play is you work first. You know, try to get your hardest task done, most important task done, then you reward yourself with play. Maybe you watch a movie, something that you really want to watch. Granted, you have the time, or can spare the time. Another thing is rest and sleep. Maybe you just need a little nap, you need to get more sleep. Your body's just telling you, hey, you're very tired. You're tired because you may not have gotten enough sleep. Make sure you eat, nourish your body, because I can tell you from experience, there have been several times where I am off from work, and once I ate something, I felt a huge difference. My concentration went up, and that's all I needed. Also, exercise. This is big. I know that, you know, there's not much time to do a lot of things with the responsibilities that we might have, but exercise really would get the blood flowing, get things, you know, pumping and things going. It'll just get the things circulating. So, information overload, overloading information, or countering information overload in a nutshell. Basically, you're making the information, the things around you, work the other way around. Rather than you work for it, it works for you. What I mean by this is basically, these are things you want to get done or need to get done. Instead of you being like, oh, darn, I got to do the groceries, I got to do the laundry. You recontextualize. You're still doing the same thing, but you recontextualize it. If you will, for argument's sake, you can say you're using reverse psychology on yourself, but it's a manner with the efficiency like I spoke to you about earlier. So a specific suggestion. I'm not an expert on time management or counsel or anything of that sort. Just a simple guy that's giving his take on something that may be underappreciated, because usually sometimes we're very busy and this might be overlooked in us being busy and so forth. So a specific suggestion I have is, let's say you have, like I said before, you had a lot of internet tabs, some of which are informative YouTube programs. I know I have several of them that I personally need to get through, or would like to get through, I should say, because they have information that's of interest to me. So what I do is that I'll have my headphones, and I'll have it on play, put the Bluetooth on, play the YouTube video or a podcast, if it's informative, if it's of an informative nature, and I'm going about my daily routine. So let's say I'm making food, I'm cooking, or I'm doing laundry, I'm even grocery shopping. I'll have it on the regular. So that would be an example of efficiency. Another one is, let's say you have a program, TV show or video game you like to play. Instead of like being hooked on it all day, I know it can be very addictive. Trust me, I know. But you can delay that gratification as a reward for you being engaged with another task, so maybe a responsibility or another personal project that you would like to complete it. So with that being said, I hope you guys, concludes our video for today, and I hope you guys took something away from this, in addition to the other content you may have consumed. If you like the video, please don't hesitate to give a thumbs up, help the YouTube algorithm. Also subscribe if you like the content, and also comment if there's something I can improve on, a topic of interest that you'd like me to discuss. With that, I wish you guys a good day. Take care.